In this video, I'll talk a little bit about inflammation and fever, though I imagine most people will have covered these in A&P, so I really don't want to go into them in much detail in microbiology because this tends to be what people know the best. So, inflammation is a non-specific defensive response the cell uses as part of healing injuries, protecting itself. It ramps up immune responses a little bit. It allows immune cells to get to the site of infection. In a lot of cases, it's run by macrophages, and they send out signals that change the way blood vessels work. They increase capillary permeability, which lets fluids come to a site of infection or an injury site, and lets immune cells come to an injury site and escape the blood vessels there. And so really we can think of this as just slightly boosting whatever immune activities are happening at a site. And here's a list of things that can happen as an outcome of inflammation. So pause the video and see if you recognize these. A lot of these we will talk about later in the class, but we've already talked about interferons. So by now you should recognize what most of these things are. You might not have looked at natural killer cells yet, depending on what order you're watching the videos. But just keep this list in mind, and you'll see inflammation can crank up all of these different things a little bit. Unintended consequences of inflammation are well known. These are the pain and tissue damage you get. You get swelling and pain, and if inflammation is uncontrolled and chronic, it can lead to organ dysfunction. And we are starting to investigate the role of inflammation in a lot of chronic illnesses. There are also fad diets to try to control this somehow using foods. I'm curious about whether we'll learn anything useful in the near future about helping regulate inflammation. So stay tuned. Fever is the other really kind of crude tool we have for slightly improving an immune response. And what it does is let phagocytes work a little bit faster. It helps the cells repair tissues around damaged sites, and it may slow mesophilic bacteria. So pause the video, figure out what mesophilic bacteria are. And that's it for inflammation and fever.